The Eastern Eye Award for the Outstanding Contribution to Creative Industry 2025 goes to Mr. Waris Hussain.
Thank you for the introduction. Watching everybody today, I was absolutely taken emotional because I am of a certain age, and I appreciate the fact that I've been able to do what I've done, and people are hopefully going to follow in my footsteps, even though I'm hobbling around. Anyway, the thing is, it's been quite a journey, and I heard today people talking about how they made it in the business. I was the very first brown-faced gentleman to face a white-faced consortium of BBC executives when they were choosing directors. And they wanted to put me into radio broadcasting at Bush House to India. And I said, well, why do you want to put me into radio? And they said, well, we'll give you a lifelong, we'll insure you a pension if you take it on. If you want, I said, but I don't want a pension, I don't want to do radio, I want to do television. At that time, I was, I think, 24 years old. And they said, but BBC doesn't employ anybody over a certain age to direct in television. And I said, you'll be wasting your money and my talent. So I didn't go to Bush House to broadcast to India, where I might say my mother, who I'm very proud of, published her first novel, set in Lucknow, which is where I come from, a novel called Sunlight on a Broken Column. And my mother worked for the BBC, broadcasting, and her voice was well known across the subcontinent. She took part in dramas as well as commentary. But anyway, I never ended up at Bush House, thank God. I did end up at Television Centre. And the first show I ever got was not even at the Television Centre. We had to do it in a sort of rat hole of a studio called Lime Grove, where they did news broadcasting from, and the show was called Doctor Who. And when I got it, I said, what the hell do I do with this? And the producer was Verity Lambert. She said, we've got to make it work. And here we are. I had no idea, to be honest with you, that I was going to be involved on such a thing. But I'm very grateful to the BBC. They gave me my first break, and I'm very loyal to it, and when people criticize it, I get very upset. Because they did give me a break, and I don't know whether I was the first ever to be a kind of experiment or something or other, but at least that proved to be something that worked out. I don't want to bore you with my stories, but the thing is, from there I jumped off and went off into other worlds, and Doctor Who caused that to happen. So I'm grateful for the BBC and Doctor Who for what happened to my career. And that's about it. Thank you very much.
What is the advice you would give to a new generation to navigate such a difficult industry as you've done so successfully?
New generation of Asians, I hope.
Indeed.
I'd give them the advice, please don't give up.
Yes.
Please, if I can be some kind of symbol of something or other, I don't know, follow in my footsteps. And don't go into advertising, which is what my father wanted me to go into. I was educated in England in order to be a prime example of success in the world of success in India. I would have ended up in Mumbai probably as an advertising executive, working for some Walter Thompson's or Burma Shell or something. My father wanted that for me, and I bless him for it. He paid for my education. But my mother was the one in the cliche way who said, let the boy do what he wants.
Wow.
And I ended up, I went to art school and things like that. I went to university, but I persisted, and this is where I am. So to younger generation, I would say, look, it sounds very difficult. You've got to somehow face the realities. Thank God today we can all make a statement. Way back in the 60s, we had a problem. We had a man called Enoch Powell, and we had to circumnavigate fiction and try and make something of ourselves. And I think I was possibly an experiment. Do not give up being an experiment.
Wow.
Do follow in the footsteps of whoever we are. And some of us today, I'm proud to say, and I'm very happy to say I'm in the company of, they persisted and they succeeded, and I don't see why we shouldn't. If anyone comes to and asks me these questions, I'll give them that kind of advice.
I have to ask you about Richard Burton as well. How did he react to you saying that he looked rather dishevelled?
Drink talks. I'm not an alcoholic. I almost became one working on the show. But I became very fond of Richard, and he said, "Can I call you Warisco? Don't ever call me Dick." So I said, "I won't." But he poked me in the stomach. He said, "You are an Indian, don't forget that. I'm a Welshman, I'm not a fucking Englishman." I'm quoting Richard Burton. So that's what happened. And he reminded me that I should be proud of my background, which is what he was proud of. And so on that level, all I can say is that Elizabeth was indifferent to me. But I ended up doing Richard's tie-up, which is something people talk about a lot, because how many times do you do someone's tie when you're not close to them?
Well, I feel honored, partly because it's nice to be given the kind of reception by my own countrymen and the people from my own background. Makes me very proud. I'm not the very only South Asian film director that has been. Most of them have been put into the category of their own countries. The most famous directors who I admire, somewhat like Satyajit Ray, came from India and lived there. I've made my career outside my own country of birth, and I'm proud of that. The fact that I've been acknowledged is important to me. Hopefully that it will transfer to others from the Asian community. I believe very much in what's happening today. India is growing, subcontinent is growing, and we need to be at the forefront of it, to be able to prove that we are capable of doing this not only in industry, but in the arts. And as we know, industry is already forging ahead as far as India is concerned, the subcontinent is concerned. And as far as I'm concerned, the arts should be following in their footsteps, in the footsteps of industry. I think it has to do with finance, and I'm happy to say that most people who do well are Indians in the industrial field, especially with their backing and their financing. I would beg them to finance the arts in which I work as a film director. I would love to make films backed by Indian money in Europe and not in India. India has its own backup, but we in Britain, who've made our lives here, need to be encouraged by Indian industrialists who have the means to support us. That's what I would say. Well, I think I can't be too much of a fantasist about this. A lot of it depends on luck and who you know and what you are creating. If you're a writer, you sit down and write. If you're a director, you wait for scripts. And I believe in creating my own work if I can. And those who are in a position to help me, I would encourage them, and I would encourage them to finance. And it has a lot to do with money and finance. And I would encourage people who are entrepreneurs to back people like myself and the newcomers who have ideas and are artists in their own right. And I consider myself an artist as a director, you see. And I just hope that someone will listen to what I'm trying to do and to back me in my projects. That's what I would encourage other Indians who are following in my footsteps to do, to get to know their own people, get to know the industry, to hone their own talents and be helped financially, because that's what it all depends on.